Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where we give hot takes, and most of the time we do our, I don't know, bad things that happen to us. But we're gonna refigure that part out. But I'm Rob. He's Jerm. How's it going, man?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. Crazy week. My head's still kind of spinning. I know once I sat down to even figure out, okay, everything that happened this week just happened. Now, what story am I gonna tell? How do I make sense of it? Where do I even start when you have 20 different storylines going on? It's a good problem to have, but yeah, I don't even know where to begin right now.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, and the thing is I want to put this out there into the ether, into the world. Western League of Legends has never been better. I'm just we're getting banger series after banger series after banger series every time. The majority of series have gone 5 games. When is the last time that happened? I don't even know. There's always at least 1 3-0. We went through an entire first few rounds, both in the LEC and the LCS, without a single 3-0. Mind-boggling. Truly, that is crazy to me that happened. And, some teams went home. We'll go through those for the LCS, for the LEC so far. Just XL with that absolutely unbelievable throw. That one is going to keep them up and probably keep them hungry. So, yeah, really good stuff from the LCS and the LEC. This show's about the LCS, though. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we could ask for anything better than what we've been seeing right now.
Yeah. It's craziness. And with so many close series, it's already, even in the first couple rounds, I've had so many moments where I'm like, okay, that team's done. Their season's over. I'm starting to think about what's coming next, all that stuff. And you have to assume that the players, that's in the back of their mind as well. And then the team that's winning, they're, booking their plane tickets and all this stuff already. And it's crazy how everything's flipping. You're really getting the roller coaster of emotions. You feel terrible for the people who end up coming up short, and it's been crazy, but it's keeping me so glued to the screen. I'm getting the full, it's fully taking me over just with how compelling it is, and a lot of that does have to do with how close the series are, and how up and down all the teams in both the LEC and LCS have been this year. And even with all the craziness we've had already, I still have no idea what's going to happen next.
And that's the part that I think is, we'll dive into it probably near the end of the show. We're going to go through each playoff series, which we had 4 this weekend. We were blessed with 4 great ones, and we will hopefully get 4 more bangers this week as well. As a reminder, in case you didn't know, there will be a series starting on Thursday again this week. Oh, love it. Let's jump into this first one. The first game of the first series of the weekend was TSM versus FlyQuest. And, yes, I am the resident TSM fan, but I can truly tell you that multiple times I just thought this was over. They made the most interesting decision I've ever seen. And truly ever. I understand that people swap in and out and everything, but Tactical hadn't played with this team since, I believe, week 2, I want to say, of the LCS. He had looked horrible in Academy. And, game 1, TSM wins. They play, I think, a pretty good comp, honestly. I thought that they had great counters to everything that FlyQuest was doing. And then we get this game 2 that was really close. TSM were pretty in it until they weren't, kind of a thing. And then they say, we are going to take out Instinct and put in Tactical. What were you thinking when that came out? Because my mind was, I didn't even know he had come with them. I thought they were going to bring Soul with them, just so he could have some experience. I believe you can maybe have 2 people. I know 1 for sure.
Yeah, I want to say you can have two for the playoffs because I know there was
Yeah.
conversations before about how you can have two in the LCS, but then you only get to take one to Worlds, and like some
Yeah.
people thought that was stupid and everything. I think I probably had a little bit different of a reaction than most people. Like my reaction, definitely just like genuine shock. Like you said, I didn't even know that it was an option. Like when he gets posted, I was like, that never even crossed my mind as a possibility. But like as once I got over the like, okay, this is an option. How do I feel about this happening? I mean, I didn't necessarily hate it. I mean, one, because what do you have to lose at that point? I did think it was also crazy that like it wasn't like they were down 0-2. It was
Yeah.
1-1 in the series. Like, but maybe that was even a better time for it to happen, so you could still like go through it a little bit. I don't know, but Instinct, he's shown some stuff throughout the season, but like he never super wowed me, and I
Yeah.
don't necessarily know if he's going to be like the TSM 80 carry of the future or anything like that. So like right now, is it crazy to say that Tactical might be better than Instinct, or Tactical might show up better in a playoff series? Like, yeah, it was crazy, but like it's not like there was a super high bar that Tactical would have to clear or anything like that. It was crazy because yeah, so many people expected he was just going to come out and int, and he did in the game 3. Like it wasn't necessarily him playing terrible. The whole team got stomped, and he was part of it. But just yeah, the story's so crazy. How he comes in, ends up going 11-0 on Xayah in Game 5, and like not only how insane this whole thing was, like what a decision by TSM, what a way to step up by Tactical. What does this mean for him going forward now? That's what I don't get. And what's he gonna look like next week? Crazy.
And that's what's yeah, it is crazy. And what's so like I was also shocked, but I went back and I wanted to look, okay, what happened in game 2, right? Like for people who don't know, at 21 minutes in, this game ended 26 minutes, okay? At 21 minutes in, we had just gotten first tower 2 minutes before then, and the gold difference was 500. That's it. It's not like we were talking about like, I don't know, them getting blown out or anything. It was like TSM realistically could have won game 2, and if they had, then they would have won the whole thing, Like, I mean, like they like, do you make the change? And what's crazy to me is Tactical said during the interview, he said that the plan was always to put him in once they had lost a game, and that to me is so freaking like 5-head, big brained, but it also is not. Like, it feels like they didn't have confidence and Instinct. Which is
right, yeah. If I'm Instinct and I'm hearing that, I'm like, take me out. Before.
Yeah. So like, the strategy is interesting. I think it was pretty obvious they were going to play a Draven or something like that, something different. And to be fair, I think the thought was like, if they can't win with Instinct on Zeri and he can't have a pop off in a game, Zeri's very clearly his best champion. There's not a whole lot else, and like, in a best of 5 series, getting him banned out would have been pretty easy. It was pretty shocking to me that FlyQuest were willing to give Yuumi multiple times in this series. But, like, yeah, I mean, I was genuinely shocked. They put him in, and then he goes, what is this? Oh, wait, why is that showing? Oh, sorry. Brought up the wrong one here. Apologies.
1-7 on Draven?
Was that what it was? Okay, sorry. I was getting ready for this. Yeah, I was trying to find this. 1-7 on Draven, and, like, they didn't even do any, and like the draft was weird. Like that was the worst we had seen Chime all year too.
Yeah, we're gonna go for a Draven Pike angle.
Yeah, and then you don't have much else even for them, right? Like, what are you gonna do with a Vi when you have a Lissandra and a Sivir? They gave over the Yuumi. Like the Jax pick was just going to end up being way more valuable than the Gnar. You go into game, you end this game, and you're like, dude, it's over. Spica went 0-10-5. Like, I truly was sitting there going, all right, yeah, this is over. Like, there's just no chance that TSM bring this back. And lo and behold, I mean, that game 4 draft was really solid. We saw Maples, probably his best series. Well, actually, yeah, his best couple games we had seen all year long out of Maple, at least in the LCS. That freaking Silas pick was just absolutely nuts. They let Chime get on Rakan,
Yeah.
which is, I'm just going to tell Evil Geniuses right now, just don't give him Rakan. He might be arguably the best Rakan in the LCS. I mean, he's won almost every single game on it. I'd have to check real quick, but I am going to bring that up actually. But this is crazy to me. I cannot believe that TSM were able to pull this out. And then in game 5, another pretty close game, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was, and then TSM bring out the Xayah Rakan, which we hadn't really seen all year. Tactical pops off and goes 11-0.
No one's playing Xayah right now. He goes 11-0 on Xayah.
It's like, and truly, the other part was, by the way, I'd done my research going into this for a piece I'd done and for talking TSM. Aphromoo was 3-0, and Johnson was 3-1 or 4-1 on Jinx. So this combination was one of their best combinations heading into the series. Philip on the Aatrox, one of his best champions, right? Takui gets the Azir. You're looking at this draft in your TSM and you're like, bro, we got Vi and we got Ornn. That's about it. And Solo really wasn't even able to do much on the Ornn. Like, the guy they put in, the guy who had not played for, I think it was 16 straight games for TSM, comes in, loses game 1, plays all right in game 2, and then wins them his third game. Like, truly scaling. Crazy. I mean, really honestly, because I still think FlyQuest was a really good team that just, they lost their momentum. They lost their confidence. They lost their momentum. I really do believe this team had just lost their confidence. And, bro, I mean, that series was crazy. I really cannot explain that. Anything
Yeah,
else.
it was a great way to start off the week for sure. The TSM being able to do what they did with Tactical coming in crazy. Who knows how they're going to win next week. But even if they lose next week, even if they get 3-0 next week, making it this far is already crazy. Winning that series with how this year's been for TSM, I think that's a great way to end the year. Opposite side for FlyQuest, quite the collapse down the stretch. It's going to sting. Maybe it stings less because at the end of the day, you weren't really all that close to making it to Worlds. It's not like, we just need to win like one more game. But yeah, I mean, I think like week 3, week 4, I don't really think anyone saw them going out this early in the playoffs. But on to the next one.
Truly. And real quick, he was 4-1 on Rakan so far this year. During the regular season, he had a KDA of 16, and during playoffs, he has a KDA of 8.5. He averages 15 assists on the champion.
Yeah, he's nice on it.
I would ban it. So no, this
can't ban everything.
Yeah, right. God, great, very very good series to start the week off, and then we get, I think, what would be only the second most surprising series, mostly just because of the fact that they didn't win, but Golden Guardians absolutely came out ready to play. After CLG had taken Cloud9 to 5 games, Golden Guardians comes out and plays, honestly, the best League of Legends they'd played all year. This is the team that I expected them to be once they had brought River in. Stixxay had probably his best performance he's had since maybe his championship run, which is like 5 years ago or 4 years ago, something like that. And I will say this much: it begs the question as to whether or not Stixxay may be worth keeping around. I still think there are a lot of good young AD carries coming up, but he's still relatively young. He's only like 24, 25. Like, you could see him stick around for a little bit longer if he can continue to get better and better. Which sounds weird at his age, but considering he took like time off and everything else.
And I think people go up and down too. My one thing with this Golden Guardians team is like all the players are kind of in that boat of like, they look pretty good at times. Hey, maybe there's somebody you could keep around or whatever. But then if you just end up keeping around 5 guys like that, then what's you're not going to Worlds with 5 guys who are like pretty good sometimes. And you're not going to get better, like significantly better. Maybe you have like, oh, Stixay has a good year, or Blaze Olive has a good year, and then guess what? 2 or 3 of the other ones are going to be on their down year, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like at some point, you're going to have to say, hey, these are our 2 to 3 guys, and then figure out everything else around them. Not have like 9 guys who could maybe be good and interchange that. Oh, we're going to get leader 2. We're going to get like, that's the same type of guy. You have 10 of the same players on your LCS and Academy team.
Yep.
You get rid of Chime, like crazy stuff happening. Obviously GM change. I'm sure the vision, they're going to have a crazy offseason. Who knows what's going to happen.
Probable
but
coach change too. It sounded like he was either moving up or moving out for an arrow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So there's going to be some big changes. There's going to be a new vision, and I think that'll be refreshing. But yeah, there's going to be some tough decisions to make because I don't think they clearly have like a disgustingly worse player or anything like that. But I also don't think they have a clear direction for the future. And obviously, you've talked about this before too. It seems like they all get along pretty well. That like. They're like, don't want to, I like this guy too. I like this guy too. Some decisions are going to have to be made. It was fun that they took it to 5 games. But I don't know. To me, this was the least interesting series. Yes, it went 5 games. Yes, it was like, it was surprising. But I was also like, do I really? I don't know. I cared about this series the least this weekend for sure.
Oh, no doubt. This was definitely the one that I kind of just had packed up and just like I watched it all, but
I was like,
doing
it went to
other
5 games? Oh, cool.
Yeah, like I mean, Contracts was probably the player of the series for me. I think he kind of played out of his mind in a couple of these games. Luger was obviously very good too, 23, 9, and 36, but Contracts really felt like he had the edge over River the entire time. And it was, it wasn't like the best series ever. I mean, it is truly like you're saying, it's truly the series of like mid-20-year-old players who one worked and one didn't work. Like they really were kind of the same coin, 2 sides of the same coin. I mean, seriously, Dokla coming back up, and getting his chance, similar to Stixay, River, I guess, coming over from somewhere else. Like, just the age thing and just the strategy behind it, right, was, and even, the amount of NA players initially and stuff like that, like the ideas with that, like. And I believe Thinkard came from Golden Guardians from last year, if I remember correctly. I know he was with FlyQuest at one point too, but the head coach for CLG, it was a good series. It really was. And CLG probably should have won it in 3 or 4, but they didn't. They kind of threw game 4, and they came back strong, really strong, I think, in Game 5 and kind of remind everybody, hey, we are still really good, but maybe it's just CLG only does banger 5-game series. I don't know, but...
Yeah, right. And yeah, part of you could say, like, CLG sucks. They went to Game 5 with Golden Guardians, but they just went to Game 5 with C9, and that close loss is aging pretty well at this point. So It's hard for me to draw, like, too much from this, because, like, at the end of the day, like, I still think Golden Guardians is not that good, even though they took CLG. Like... That's a weird thing we get into, especially at this point. It's like we go through the whole regular season. Everyone's like, best of ones. They don't really matter. I don't want to read too much into them. But then everyone's like, but one single best of 5 series? Now that I can like read into all I want. It's like, it's still just one best of 5. It's like these 2 teams matching up on one day on one patch. Like, that's still, like, if they ran this best of 5 back, it's not like Golden Guardians is going to be close to CLG every time. So it's hard for me to draw too much from this, but it was definitely, I mean, obviously it's way more fun that it went 5 games. It was exciting. It was cool. But once it was over, I was like, all right, get me to Saturday.
Yeah, you and me both. Which we will go to Saturday. 100 Thieves versus Team Liquid. Bro, this series was, how would I put it? A true roller coaster. I really think this was, of all the series, the most roller coastery of the roller coasters, because 100 Thieves absolutely slapped TL. It was like TL looked dead in the water. They couldn't figure anything out that was going to work. And then they just turned it on. Like, Bjergsen brings out the Zillion. That pick was absolutely instrumental, in helping them win. I will be honest with you. I am surprised that he didn't bring it back out in the last game, or kind of the second to last game. But and it also seems, by the way, like teams are picking Seraphine when their backs are against the wall as well, which has been very interesting to watch. But regardless, this game was great. I mean, this series was awesome. 100 Thieves going one way, and then TL look like they are way ahead. They're going to just absolutely cruise to a reverse sweep. And the Lee Sin closer says, no, sir, not today. Gets the huge kickoff on Hans Sama and completely flips that game around. I'll be honest, I didn't like the Viego pick, and it didn't pay off for Santorin in the end. Yeah. But, damn, this was a very fun and interesting series that I really had on while I was doing some work, and then I was like, oh my god, like this, I should actually pay attention to this. This is actually getting very interesting now. We went to game 5, and it really was close. I mean, it was off the back of one good kick, realistically, and because it really looked like Team Liquid kind of had game 5 a little bit wrapped up too. But
yeah,
super fun, super interesting series, and I love it. I'm sad though that there's a chance we may not see Team Liquid at Worlds now, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no. Obviously, this series ended up having way more implications than we ever thought it was going to, even while we were watching. And it was like, yeah, whoever loses this, it sucks. You don't want to go to the losers bracket, but like, you're probably gonna be okay. You're probably gonna, make a little lower bracket run. But yeah, from this series, I mean, this series was just giving me like PTSD back to Bjergsen TSM days. Yes. Not the heights of that, but the last couple years, like 18, 19, whenever that started, of just like every year, it's never going to be easy. No matter how talented the team should be or could be or whatever, you're going to sweat out the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It's always going to go to game 5. And more often than not, recently, it's been his team's coming up on the short end of the stick. For one reason or another, I don't think Bjergsen was like particularly great in this series, but I'm not going to say like he's the reason that his team lost or anything like that either. Which obviously you should have high expectation for him. He should maybe be popping off better, whatever. I was very critical of CoreJJ throughout this series. He had a couple of really not so great moments. I remember one of the games, he is Yuumi and he gets caught out recalling in the jungle, like into a Baron play, and it was like, that was pretty lazy. That was pretty weird. And the closer Lee Sin play, like, yeah, that's an insane kick, but like, you queued on to your Leona, and then your Leona went and stood on top of your AD carry, and like, that's so weird. And like, okay, maybe it's obviously some of Hans Sama too, like, you both are walking together, but like, you're the freaking Leona. If you get kicked onto, that's going to be okay. Just don't. And like, Bjergsen ends up flashing over the wall. It almost was a kick onto Bjergsen and Hans Sama, which would have just been, I mean, it couldn't have been more of a disaster because they end up losing the game off it, but like, it would have been more of a theoretical disaster. 100 Thieves makes the clutch plays. They're always in the big spots, and they always just find a way, which is, interesting, and they're a fun team to watch. I get why they have a ton of fans. But I was honestly kind of happy for Team Liquid because I talked about it last time where 100 Thieves has had TL's number pretty much throughout the whole year. And the fact that TL got this to 5 games, especially with how up and down inconsistent they've been this year, I think there were some positives to take away. And like you said, there's a world where they win that game 5. Obviously, it's very, very disappointing. For the amount of money spent on this team, for the names on this team, to lose the series. You should not be losing the series, but with the context of 2022, I don't think much less of TL than I did before coming out of this one. I was kind of happy they got to game 5.
Yeah, I mean, the reality for me is that they're going to have to really play well. And yeah, they're playing CLG too. Like that series will not be some sort of walkover. And then should they win that series, they then have to play the winner of TSM, and I'm not going to say the name yet because I don't want to spoil it, We're going to talk about that.
You guys haven't seen it yet, obviously.
Yeah, obviously you're watching the show not having seen it. But and they're going to have to still do that in the same weekend. That's what's crazy to me, right? Like, they're going to play Thursday, and then they're going to play again on Sunday. I mean, and then if they win that, they're going to have to travel to Chicago like 2 days later and then prep for potentially 2 more series. So
yeah, but you're gonna be resting a little bit easier with your Worlds ticket in your hand
Worlds
at least.
ticket will definitely, and that's what this team wanted. Like they keep talking about, well, we want first place overall. I'm gonna tell you right now, Steve doesn't give 2 shits about whether or not they win an LCS final.
And now that they have a couple titles, like you want to get your first couple titles. After that, the 5th title, 6th title, it don't matter.
And it's not like, and when I say he doesn't give 2 shits, I mean in comparison to going to Worlds. This team was envisioned to perform at Worlds. Yes, winning an LCS title would obviously give them a better chance at performing at Worlds because it would mean that they're the best in the region. But this is also a team that I think, should they make Worlds, would level up pretty well. So yeah, I am of the opinion that this series was good for them. I think Bwipo, yeah, he had one bad game realistically. Someday, dude, listen, if 100 Thieves truly get rid of Someday at some point, like for tenacity, which it's either going to be this year or never, apparently, I would have to think, honestly. Yeah. Tenacity's got to have some big shoes to fill because this guy is consistently crushing everything and everybody in his path. Split in, split out, series in, series out. Clearly was the best player in this series. I think maybe Abbedagge or Bjergsen would be right behind him. But, I am just of the opinion that, I don't know what else to say other than this was an awesome series. This was super fun.
And all the series throughout the rest are pretty much going to be super fun. I don't think there's any more CLG Golden Guardian series at this point, so I'm excited for that. And I know you're talking about like, oh, we're not going to give away Yuumi, we're not going to give away this pick, that pick, and like there's so many picks in the draft right now. But it is like I would have maybe liked to see Someday forced off the Aatrox at some point too. He got 4 Aatrox games in and looked pretty damn good in every single Aatrox game.
Ornn in the one he didn't get the Aatrox in. Like, come on,
right. Yeah, and he gets Ornn, but then that's a game that TL wins. Like, yeah, even though you're not super excited about him getting Ornn, like, we won that game at least. I know Revenge was talking on the broadcast that it seems like a chirping around the LCS that maybe Bwipo can't deal with the Aatrox all that well, because Revenge seemed to know that as well.
If that's the case, then just ban it.
Right.
Like, he's one of your best players. Why would you ever put his kryptonite against him 4 times? Like, I agree with you. Sorry, I didn't mean to totally cut him, but I completely agree with you.
Yeah, but then it is hard because, you only have so many bans. It's like, you're banning this, you're giving up something else. I wonder, could Bwipo pick it? Like, is that an option? What does that look like? But yeah, just when I see, Someday had an amazing series, and he played 4 out of 5 games on the same champion, and it was clearly working. Maybe that's an angle, and is that something that C9's going to look at next week, or was it just Bwipo specific that we're going to beat up on the Aatrox? I don't know, but it's something I'm going to be watching out for the rest of the playoffs.
Oh, no doubt. And one thing I do want to point out, when I was looking at some of these other games, the CS per minute for top laners was very low, like in the 5-6 range. Both Bwipo and Someday to keep up with each other. Bwipo at a 7.7. At an 8.1 and Someday at a 7.7. Abbedagge had a 7.9 and Bjergsen at a 7.8. They are funneling resources into their top laners. Like, you guys may not get this, but like that is a pretty significant margin. Like, just in the last series we were talking about, Stixxay had 10 CS a minute. When you're taking away that CS, it's got to go somewhere. Like Hans Sama, only an 8.3. FBI was... Well, he had the one game where he was Seraphine or Senna. I can't remember which one. But, he had an 8.6. But, like, my point is that these guys are going to get resources. And especially if you're playing 100 Thieves, like, for the team that we're going to discuss here in a minute, you have to recognize that. And you have to either decide to take those resources and give them to your top laner as well, or take them away and hope that you can win in other places on the map. So... Yeah. Awesome series.
And that's still a question that I think I and a lot of other people have for TL, and I think they even have for themselves, is like, what do we want to do? What kind of team are we? And I think that's the battle that they have every week, every game. It can be a good problem to have, but it can be a problem as well.
Oh, no doubt. Now we head into definitely the most surprising series of the weekend. Cloud9 EG. I didn't get to watch this one as close. I had 3 fantasy football drafts yesterday, so that was taking up most of my time. But I still watched these pretty closely, as close as I could. And, dude, this was the C9 that was promised to everybody. This is the C9 that we kind of expected would eventually come out. I was absolutely shocked. Jensen played pretty solidly, but like he really wasn't as big of a factor as I think a lot of people want to say. It was really, to me, Berserker, Blabber, and Fudge. I just think those 3 absolutely crushed it. And, you know, they really shut down Inspired. Like, they made Inspired and JoJo's lives absolutely hellaciously hard. I still didn't really understand the Hecarim pick in the first game either. That felt very unnecessary. You know, even Xin Zhao was available. Like, I think that would have been way better, but you know, regardless, they got beat up and down the map in the first game. They looked a little better in the second game, obviously won the third game, and it felt pretty close in game 4. They lost, you know, 2 final fights. Jensen pulled out the Zilean as well. He and Bjergsen love to do that in their last games to try to lock things up or save things. And Blabber pulled out his, you know, his Olaf, which was good, but it felt to me like everybody was, you know, Fudge was talking about how they looked terrible in scrims and everything. Everybody's talking about that. I just don't understand how a team goes from being able to adapt to any meta for the last, 5 months essentially, to going into a series like this, seemingly having no idea, while they even had an extra week to prep, of what they wanted to do and what they wanted to play and who they wanted to play through. I really didn't like most of their drafts in comparison to what they could have had. And it almost felt like they threw on purpose or something. Like they want this lower bracket run to buff them or something. I'm serious. Like it was really bad. It was really rough. And, you know, just pointing this out, I didn't realize this till now, but both teams, 10 dragons for Cloud9, 7 for Evil Geniuses, they were doing it without fighting over objectives. It was just kind of like a couple big fights here and there, some big skirmishes, and then it was over. Like, if one team, i.e. EG, had played the map maybe a little bit better, they might have been able to recover from some of these issues that they had, but it just felt like they had no control anywhere. And I'm very disappointed because I still think EG are the best team in our league. I think they had a really bad day, and I hope they come out and prove me right in the lower bracket, because not having EG at Worlds would be a very, very bad thing, I think, for North America. We have 3 of the 4 teams in the bottom half now are mostly NA teams. EG, TSM, and CLG are, mainly true NAers, not, the thing that TL and 100 Thieves and C9 have all gotten around. And, for NA, like, this story is huge. Like, EG kind of need to win for NA or, well, anybody but TL at this point if you want to make the NA argument, because, yeah, it's just not good. It's not looking good for NA right now. I mean, they're still good. I mean, it's still 3 of the top 6 teams, or I guess 5 teams technically left. But, like, I just, it's disappointing for me, I will say.
Yeah, and I definitely understand what you're saying. I do think it would be bad in a lot of ways, especially with Worlds being in North America, but I also do think that we're still seeing this gradual improvement year over year. Sure. And yeah, it sucks we don't have Worlds in NA like a year from now or 2 years from now, because I think this is going to keep getting better, especially depending on how like TL goes here with all the money that TL spent, and like maybe they squeak into Worlds as a 3 seed, and then God knows what they're going to do at Worlds. So like it would definitely be a hit to the whole thing, but I still think that there's takeaways that a lot of people aren't going to be like, oh yeah, let's hey, TL, they got to Worlds, let's try that out. That's my hope, at least, especially with teams trying to go cheap and stuff and seeing that there actually is some talent. But yeah, the series was crazy. C9, like you said, EG, you still think they're the best team, and I still don't necessarily know if this is like the C9 we're going to see all the time, just with how inconsistent they've been. And that's not even just this C9 team or this year or whatever. That's like Blabber's whole career is he can beat the EG, but he can lose to the wild card team, in the play-ins at MSI or something like that. And a guy like Jensen, you said you weren't super impressed with how he's playing, but everyone else, I think Jensen, like, gets enabled when everyone else is playing well. Like, Jensen is a great guy to have if Blabber is playing well and if some of these other guys are playing well, because I think Jensen's going to be relatively stable and he's going to know how to win games and stuff, even though, he didn't have an insane series, but, like, I'm sure C9 was happy, with what Jensen
solid.
was able to do and stuff.
Don't get me wrong. He is solid. He only died 3 times. I mean, that's still a feat in 5 games to die 3 times. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him. But he also had less kills than you would think in a series that was this much of a stomp. I mean, 57 kills to 34. Of those 57 kills, he didn't even have a fifth of those. He had 9 kills. So, like,
and I didn't walk away from this series like with Jensen as my first takeaway. My number one takeaway had to be Berserker. I mean, so just insane. Especially going up against EG and going up against Danny. This is the guy who has been, obviously there's FBI, Hansam, and Berserker all been in the conversation, but I think most people have been trending towards Danny's the best AD carry in the LCS, and like, this was not even close in the series. Obviously, it's a team game. AD carry is a team-reliant position and stuff. But, like, Berserker wowed everyone, and Danny didn't really have too many wowing moments. He had a very, very good Seraphine game. But other than that, I wasn't like, oh, wow, Danny was crazy. This was the Berserker show. And then my second takeaway was for sure Fudge. Yeah, I mean, Inspired talked a little bit about how they weren't prepared for C9's game plan and what they were going to do and all that stuff. And I think some of that was the pressure that they put on Inspired, but some of this was even like Fudge pulling out Camille in the first game and being pretty good on it. That was a problem, that if you can't blind pick Ornn because you're going to get Camille shoved down your throat, that changes the draft. That changes the series. And it just made me realize, like, and I tweeted this out too, like, okay, Fudge is a top laner. Like, what were we doing last split? What the heck was going on? Like, this guy last year was on the trajectory to be like an amazing top laner, and now we're seeing him get back to that. He's fun to watch. He's aggressive. He's in your face. And all these C9 guys, they can all play everything, and that's what makes them really scary.
Yeah, I mean, the only, like, the bot lane was the same, but everything else was different, basically, the entire series. Like, and the bot lane was the same because that's kind of how the bot lane is right now. There's, like, a couple picks. Now, I will say C9 trended more towards the Renata, which was really big. Like, for a team, it kind of felt like Renata was kind of the counter to Evil Geniuses because they love to fight. They love to, get in there and scrap. Dude, I mean, hitting a good Renata ult can absolutely make that just completely ineffective, and you can do it basically every 60 seconds. So unless if you can just extend a fight, get away from it, and do it all together at the same time, like, EG also felt really disjointed. And when, let's put it this way, Danny, like, God, like, that freaking Ezreal pick to me was also just absolutely whack. I did not understand that one at all. Ezreal's really not in the meta right now. And, truly, like, they didn't give Danny a chance to, I think, really play as well as he could have. When Jojo Pune's doing the highest damage and only 5 kills. Now, to be fair, he's doing 600 damage a minute, which is really freaking good, say, by the way. And
Jojo had a good series.
I was going to say, I think he did fine. Yeah.
I think Jojo was their best player, like, by a significant margin.
Yeah, like, you look at his scoreline of 5, 14, and 23, and you think, oh, like, he was bad. And it's like, no, like, he was actually pretty good. And he did kind of keep Jensen in check almost the whole time. It was really that Inspired, they were able to keep Inspired down. So it didn't allow for Jojo to really be able to get onto the map and be able to do some of these things. But he still hit some great charms. Like, I still believe that if this is the worst we're going to see from them, like, I'm not trying to take it away from Cloud9, but I really do believe that, yes, they did have a good strategy, but they also caught EG playing the worst that we have seen them play literally since March. That is forever ago. This team has been extremely good since. And if you don't believe they're going to go into this TSM series pissed off and probably just going to absolutely shellac TSM, even, again, coming from the resident TSM fan here, I have a freaking talk show. I'm probably going to still pick Evil Geniuses 3-0. Like, this team should, not will, but should absolutely slap TSM upside the head and then get their way to TL or CLG and then hopefully take care of business with one of them. And again, I say hopefully because I love this EG team. Not seeing them at Worlds after how they played at MSI would be such an absolute tragedy to me. I cannot express it. Like
for the past 5 months, EG going to Worlds has seemed like a foregone conclusion to everyone. You can't talk about the series without the Inspired smite on the crab too. Like yes, C9 put a lot of pressure on Inspired and they were down Inspired's throat the whole time, and like they picked a good day to do it, obviously, because they had a good game plan and Inspired was just not bad. His best. Yeah, crazy. I mean, he lost the one dragon, with the lazy smite where Blabber steals it with the Q on Olaf, and then and then him smiting the crab. I mean, that was just insane to me. Like as I was watching it, I saw the meme that was like Sven is like, "Wow, Blabber, that's something you would do," and then Blabber's like, "I would do that," or something like that.
And that's hilarious. It's like you're gonna catch players on good and bad days, right? And this was clearly a bad day for them. Like I want to remind everybody, you can go and you can meme and you can troll on Inspired all you want, but this man's about to go 2 years in a row with likely 2 MVPs in 2 completely different regions. He is very good. Yes, this series was a bad one. But if you really think that this is the real Evil Geniuses, I think you are absolutely out of your mind.
But it does beg the question at the same time. Yes, Inspired, great player, 2 MVPs, 2 regions, all this stuff. What were the issues that Rogue had back in the LEC? It was, around this time of the year generally where Inspired was great, the team was great. They never were able to win the big ones. Yes, they did end up getting to Worlds and stuff like that, but they never were too sick at Worlds. They never won the title. There are some questions about that as well. And then just the questions of, are they going to bounce back? Why did they play bad? Yes, maybe they caught them on a bad day. Well, if you're capable of a bad day, you're capable of multiple bad days. It doesn't mean just because you should be better or even you are better, showing up and actually doing it is 2 different things as well. And they're going to be playing some teams that are also capable of being good. So there's just a lot of questions right now. A lot of questions. We're going to get answers soon, but we're just not there yet.
I mean, one change I would like to see for Inspired, and maybe, you'll look at this and see it the same way as me, but like when you put him on a B tier at best Hecarim, right? And then back-to-back games where they try to surprise C9 and do Sejuani jungle, dude, this guy's carried you all year. You need to prioritize getting him on something that he can carry on. They got him to Wukong in game 4, but it was too late because you also put a freaking Jax in the top lane against a Sejuani. The Sejuani's going to end up being better. These teams know how to stop split pushing unless if Jax was to get massively ahead. The sad part was the middle part of the draft for EG was really good. Wukong, Ahri, and Sivir are fantastic picks, but then you go, well, I guess we're going to pull out the Alistar. Well, I guess we're going to pull out the Jax. It just felt like C9 had every opportunity and every, I think, ability to just counterpick them and do what they wanted to in the draft. And that was the first time I'd really felt like, and by the way, Sejuani is a top-tier pick. She was picked in every single one of these games. It's very clear that she's very good. But I don't like that for carry-type junglers. I would have much rather preferred to see him on the Trundle, on the Wukong, on even a Viego, right? Something like that I think would have been better for him. And they're going to learn from this. They will. I think this will make them better, honestly. If there's a team that's going to go down to the lower bracket of these 4 teams, and I think have the potential to level up, it would have been them. I don't think C9 would have really leveled up. I don't think TL is going to level up. And I don't think 100 Thieves would have. I think Evil Geniuses have that opportunity. Whether or not they're going to do it, like you said, they can still have a second bad day. But I can make excuses all I want for them. They're going to be the ones that are going to have to figure it out. And they're going to have to do it quick because the turnaround is fast. They're going to be playing on Friday. So we've gone through the first games. Let's quickly do some of the other games. One of the other things that we didn't predict, by the way, we didn't do any predictions last week. I don't think. I think we're going to do.
I think we ran through each series.
Did we? Okay. I couldn't remember. Let's go through these then. Thursday, 4:00 Eastern Time, 1:00 Pacific. CLG versus Team Liquid. Apologies for the screamers in the back. I honestly think this is going to be a 3-1 Team Liquid, but I'm really going to be looking at what they're going to do with Palafox in this one. Bjergsen, he's not as lane dominant as he was, and he's not roaming a whole lot necessarily, and he's not necessarily team fighting great, but he's also not team fighting great. His skirmishing, I think, has actually been his best trait so far this year, but he's also been above average at all those other things. It's just his excellence has changed, split over split. If he dominates Palafox, I think this series could even be a 3-0, but there's a part of me that thinks that Palafox is going to bring out some crazy stuff. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Yone, a Yasuo in this at all, actually, from them. Because it feels like CLG's kind of play with the we have nothing to lose, whereas TL has everything to lose in this series. And I that to me is going to be the marquee matchup. I don't really care about the rest of them. Everybody else may, but if Palafox can't, if Bjergsen can't take down Palafox at least once with a solo kill or something like that, or if he's getting pushed in constantly because of the draft, like, they're going to be in trouble to me. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing, 3-1 for TL. To me, I can't predict a 3-0 for them at this point because TL's been so inconsistent and we're not seeing any 3-0s right now, whether it's the patch or something's in the air or whatever the heck's going on. But I do think TL's main goal in this one is to make sure they don't look past CLG, but also to get in and out as quickly as they can because obviously you want to be saving picks and stuff like that. You want to expose as little as your hand as possible because I'm sure we know this team, we know Bwipo, the guys like that, they have some spicy picks. They have some different things they can do, and they want to get back home, start chilling, start prepping. I mean, they're going to have the extra day of prep if they win this one too. So I think it's going to be important to get in and out as fast as possible, but 3-0s just seem to be hard to come by right now. I do think the mid lane is going to be very, very interesting. Bjergsen has spoke very highly of Palafox throughout the whole year, and I do think Palafox has been the engine for the CLG team. Like people talk about contracts, Dokla, whatever. I think Palafox has maybe flown under the radar a little too much, but I'm not taking Palafox to take down this TL team in a playoff series.
Yeah, me neither. And I do think Santorin's much better than Contracts as well. Not that Contracts hasn't played well. He actually got my second team all vote because all pro vote, and I know a lot of people were going to flame me for it, but I do think he was a really big factor as to why this team was great, and that's why I put him there. I didn't think he was the best jungler, but I wanted to honor him for actually having a really good year, and he still had a great year so far, and it will be, should CLG lose here, or whenever they do lose, I really do hope that they keep most, if not all, this team together, because I don't think this is their ceiling. They're getting close to it, but there's a potential, like, they take a couple extra steps and they really unite even more as a team, and this team could, like, actually challenge the EGs, the TLs, the 100 Thieves, the C9s, like, kind of every split, and I love that. Like, this team has been easily the darling, I think, of the LCS, and one of the biggest surprises that I had them 10th coming in. I really did not expect them to do anything.
Yeah,
I've never been so happy.
It seemed like a rebuilding year, developmental type team.
Yeah.
They kind of given me some of like the Golden Guardians vibes from a couple years ago, where with this current team they can probably be annoying for top teams for a couple years, especially if they continue to develop and get better. But I'm just thinking if this team adds a big piece, like the Golden Guardians team, they were fun and they were interesting, but you put Someday on that team and it's a different team all of a sudden.
Yep.
CLG, I think this lineup could do something like that too. I don't think they will necessarily, but I'm just like, oh, that would be fun if they did.
Summit? Anybody? Just saying.
I've been saying it. I know.
Just saying. All right, we move on. Friday, same time, same place, but different day, and two different teams. Evil Geniuses TSM. Now, I already said earlier, I am going to pick a 3-0 here for Evil Geniuses. That being said, there's a world where I think TSM are better than people think they are, including potentially me. And like you said, Rakan's probably not going to get banned early on. If I'm TSM, I'm not kidding you. I stay with Tactical. You just tell him to farm up. And he is a much better late-game team fighter. I don't think his laning is actually better than Instinct's, which is weird because Instinct's laning is not great, but I think Instinct played the weak side a lot better than Tactical does, a lot safer at least. But I honestly, if I'm TSM, dude, I'm spamming that Rakan. I don't give a crap about the rest of it. You just give this man Chime the Rakan, give him the angles. I think you do that, and I think you hope that Maple shows you what he did during this last series. If Maple plays that well in this series, Evil Geniuses might actually get a bit of a surprise because Solo's not going to lose lane. Right. He's just not. He's not going to win lane, but he is certainly not going to lose lane against Impact. It doesn't matter what they do. They can throw, they can kill him 3 times. He's still going to be able to stay in the game and be, useful. There's a world where I could see myself picking TSM. It's not going to happen in this world. It's not this world. But if you were to really dive into the nitty gritty, which I started doing a little bit today, dude, I mean, I'll tell you that I will straight up say this at least. If Evil Geniuses play and draft like they did against C9, I actually do think TSM would take this one 3-2. I still don't think they're good enough to like sweep them or 3-1 them in a pretty dominant fashion like C9 did. But if this team really just cannot figure out the meta and there's some other things going on behind the scenes, they could lose to TSM, and then that would be by far the farthest a 7 seed has ever gotten. Like, no doubt. And then TSM fans like me are like, we're going to Worlds.
I mean, for a couple more days, hanging on to hope.
Oh, that would be 12 hours.
I see this one as a 3-1 for EG. I can absolutely see a world where TSM wins a game, especially with how TSM has looked and just with their players. Yeah, they have Maple, they have Spica, they have Solo, they have Tactical. Like, this team, they're good players. They can win a game. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to consistently do it. But if I'm TSM, I'm trying to do all the cheesy stuff, all the great stuff. I'm doing Rakan. I'm probably pulling out a Seraphine game if we can get our hands on her somehow. I'm doing all that. Impact has not been impressive to me for a couple weeks in a row now. I do think that's an opportunity for Solo to get something done. I don't think Solo's going to pop off and carry, but that's not going to be a major point of strength for EG, which, hey, that's at least something. That's pointing in the direction of TSM being able to hang around the games at least, or increasing the likelihood we get some kind of close series. I do think EG is just good. I think they showed up on a bad day, and maybe this is a bad patch for them. Maybe they've had bad prep. Maybe they're all out of form. Who knows? But I still think it'll be good enough to get past TSM. But how they look against TSM is going to, really shape how I feel about them going forward, as with everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. And, we do have to talk about that game as well. Well, I guess we should probably do this first. I forgot. We got to do this first. So we will be getting the C9 versus 100 Thieves game on Saturday. That one's going to be interesting as well, regardless of what anybody and everybody says. I don't know what to think about this game. I'm going to let you go first on your prediction because I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it and see if I can maybe formulate my prediction on it a little bit more. I think I've got one in my head. But yeah, where are you at?
Yeah, so in my head, I'm going with 100 Thieves 3-2 over C9. I am not the biggest 100 Thieves fan in the world. I'm still not totally sold on a lot of their players. And I actually like C9 and their players a lot. But part of my reasoning is if I see one team having a big kind of we made Worlds, or a breath of fresh air, or a moment where they're relaxed or whatever, I see that being much more likely C9 than 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves expected to be here. Mm-hmm. They're a team that wants to win this title, that wants to shut everybody up, wants to prove everybody wrong. C9, they want to do that too, but they're probably a hell of a lot happier to just be going to Worlds than 100 Thieves is. So I can definitely see them, putting everything into last week and being like, oh, okay, we did it. We're good now. Hey, let's try to win this thing, but hey, we're going to Worlds. That's crazy. Also, 100 Thieves, this series with TL, they showed some moments of vulnerability. They showed that they can be beatable, and C9 showed much less of that last week. But I do think EG just didn't really show up. And even though C9 did look good, I think the 100 Thieves we saw this last week is better than the EG we saw this last week. And I think there are going to be some problems for C9. Can C9 show that form 2 weeks in a row? I don't know. They haven't really done that much throughout this year, and 100 Thieves has been pretty damn consistent throughout the year. But I think it's going to be a fun one. Definitely a ton of excitement coming from both sides. It's going to be spicy, but 3-2, 100 Thieves.
I'm going to go 3-2 as well. And I actually am going to also make I guess technically a hot take on this part of it. So I guess this will be it for me on that regard. I actually think that this is going to go the exact same way that the TL series did. I think like 100 Thieves are going to come out, smack them across the face 2 games in a row. Then I think C9's going to come out with some weird ass strategy, win the next game, win a straight up game, and then I think 100 Thieves are going to take it home in the end. My reason being is I think similar to you, I just think 100 Thieves are hungry. Dude, they are pissed off. They are playing like a team that like has everything to prove to everybody. And to be honest with you, those are the best teams out there, right? Not the ones that, yeah, sure, they expected to be here, but they didn't expect here to be here in the same way that like I think Evil Geniuses did, where it was like, yeah, we're going to be here just because we're that good. I think 100 Thieves expected to be here because they expect to be the best team and they're out to prove it, right? They truly believe, they had that 10-game win streak or whatever. Like, they, I think, really truly believe that they're the best team in the LCS, and they're tired of people sleeping on them. If they can put C9 into the ground here and then, honestly, and win the finals, like, it's going to be hard to disagree with them. Like, regardless of if EG have, just had a bad patch or whatever it is, like, this team is hungry. And I would like to remind everybody, the bot lane didn't even play that well, and they still won that series. Like, if FBI does what he normally does, I don't even think I think it's a for sure 3-0 against Team Liquid, but they kind of kept FBI in check, and I think that's what allowed them to win. But like Abbedagge has been unbelievable since week 1 of the split. I can't, trying to count him out or anything, and like especially going up against Jensen right now, it's hard for me not to believe that this 100 Thieves team is just the better team. Like, I think doubting C9 has been the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I always doubt them. They always figure it out. It doesn't matter what iteration. It doesn't matter who's on the team. Like, they always seem to figure it out and play well. That's just kind of who they are. That's their brand. And they may get to finals. But they are surely not going to beat 100 Thieves this time. I just can't see it. I can't. I'd almost lean more towards a 3-0 than I would a C9 winning in like a 3-0 100 Thieves than a C9 winning in anything. Yeah, in any way. So, yeah. All right, we've got one more matchup, which would end up being for both of us, TL versus Evil Geniuses, and then I got a couple questions for you, and then we'll kick it on out of here. TL versus Evil Geniuses. Holy moly, dude. Like, to go to Worlds, first off, it's going to go to 5. There's just no comprehensible world where if these two teams are there, that it wouldn't absolutely just be bonkers. A great series, I think. I'll let you go first on this one too. I went first on for the first two. I'm gonna give you the honors on the last two.
Yeah, so back to the same thing. I know, just throwing it back to the old TSM of Bjergsen and TSM last couple of years. He was on the team, just always being in the mix, always getting close. It's never going to be easy. You're never going to get a 3-0. You're never going to easily qualify for anything. Even when he was the coach, get in the same situation. You're going to go to game 5. You're not going to make it. I've been on this roller coaster for 4 or 5 years in a row right now. And they just always come up short, no matter if it's a year where they have a better team and they had a good offseason, or if it's a year where they have freaking Grig or whatever's going on, or Mike Young, take your pick. They're going to get close still. They're still going to find a way to be there, but it's never going to happen. And like, just from what I saw this weekend, I don't think TL was like amazing. I don't think they impressed me in a great way. I'm glad they made it to game 5, but I still think they're doing a lot of the same weird stuff they've been doing all year, but they looked better than Evil Geniuses. But this is going to be so crazy. There's going to be so many storylines. This is JoJo against Bjergsen. This is the NA team against the, can you buy the freaking LCS or whatever? Like, so crazy. And yeah, I hope it's going to game 5. I hope the viewership's amazing. I hope everybody tunes in. I hope they do it justice leading into it as well. This deserves to be hyped up to be the series that it is, like the magnitude that it is and all that. And the storylines of, are we going to have 4 NA players at Worlds? Or are we going to have 1 NA player at Worlds? Are we going to have the TL and 100 Thieves both get in a World with no NA players or whatever? I honestly don't know who is going to win, but I want TL to win, so I'm still picking them 3-2.
You want them to win?
Yeah, I will always go down with Bjergsen. He's just what got me into this. I think his story is so crazy, and I, especially going through, the whole TSM thing and getting to where he is now, like, I want that to happen, and I want to watch him internationally. I want to see these TL players internationally. And if the EG last week shows up again, like, no, I don't want that. We did get to see EG at, like, MSI and stuff this year. I think EG has a bright future ahead of them, but if I got to pick between these two teams, going TL 3-2, it's going to be a crazy game 5. The drafts are going to be big. Who shows up is going to be big. Either team, I think, could win. I think it's very, very close.
Maybe we'll get lucky and, like, the Brazilian team or something will just drop out and be like, nah, we're good. Like, we can't go. And then they'll be like, well, now we have to give. Now we have to give the LCS 4, teams. Because I genuinely believe that 4 teams could go to Worlds and perform, by the way. I even think,
and I want to see how both of these teams would do. I want to see how both of them would do.
It's so disappointing. I mean, listen, C9, good for you. I do think you guys are going to be super fun to watch there, but damn it, I really wanted 100 Thieves, TL, and EG. I'm still so disappointed that we are not getting them. But I'm going to also go 3-2, like we'd said, and I'm going to pick Evil Geniuses. Listen, I think it's going to come down to the bot lane. I cannot believe that Danny and Vulcan are going to allow that to happen again. It would be shocking to me to see them play as bad as they did. Even if Inspired and Impact and I wanted to call him Jose Dioto, but Jojo Pune struggle again. I think bot diff is going to be too much in this one. And Hans Sama, yes, he had his best series of the year. And maybe he's just a great playoff kind of guy. That's great. Good for him. But I don't care because I do genuinely believe that Danny's better. I think Vulcan's better right now. I know Vulcan is better right now.
Yeah, CoreJJ has been disappointing.
CoreJJ has struggled. And I think if EG are smart, you just play through Danny like you have all year. You give him, hyper carry picks that he can just kind of do his thing on. You hope Inspired gets you a lead somewhere else on the map, and I think you can win these games. Like Bwipo and Bjerg and Santorin, I think they're gonna try their damnedest. I mean, they really will. It's just when Danny can just come flying in on a Jinx or on a Zeri or on a Sivir and kind of just 1v5 a fight, I don't think Hans Sama can do that same thing. And I will tell you, I'm sure they're gonna study that Draven game, and they will probably be like, you know what, let's just not give him Draven until we're up a game or two, I don't know. To me, I think that would be the best way. I'll dive into it more. Like, I want to see what I think they're going to do for bans and stuff against them both. But I got EG still making it. I actually still think they might make the lower bracket run, but I'm also sucking on a ton of copium. So we'll have to see. I want to quickly play this scenario out to you real quick. TSM or CLG, one of those two actually make it to Worlds. What do you think of the LCS if one of those two teams were to make it to Worlds? Like, what in your mind, does that help hurt the LCS? I mean, I would say I think if TSM went, you would get a lot more people at Worlds rooting for them. Like, I don't think they should make it. I don't really even want them to make it, which is kind of... I'm sure a stab into the heart of all my TSM people. I don't think they should yet, at least. But in a world where one of those two make it, which it's still very much a real possibility right now, what do you think?
I mean, overall, I think it would be pretty bad. I do question, especially at this point in the year, the ability of TSM to rally the troops in terms of like their fan base and stuff, like yeah, it would be crazy, but like so many TSM fans I feel like have been so uninvested in this whole year that I think it's more likely they come back in the future if the team like is more hype, exciting, or whatever. I still think this team's kind of hard to get behind. Outside of Spica, there's not like a ton that's like exciting, especially for people who haven't really followed too much this year. And like their socials kind of show that as well. Like nothing's really kind of moving the needle too much right now. So I don't even know if it would be a huge boost, especially with like TL and EG. Like they do fine in terms of like numbers and stuff too. Obviously peak TSM, nothing beats that, but like I still question. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know. But also I just think that would be pretty disastrous if both TL and EG miss. You have like the team that spent all the money, but then the top team of NA players both. Like right now it's like one of those two is gonna miss. You can be like, oh, NA players suck, or oh, you tried to buy it and you missed. But it's like, oh, CLG made it instead. Like what do you even make of that? I don't know. The offseason becomes a hell of a lot more spicy, and we get memed on probably pretty hard, especially if CLG like goes and sucks at Worlds, or TSM goes and sucks at Worlds.
And that would be my fear. That would be my fear, honestly.
Right. Because like just because you go on some crazy run doesn't mean you're gonna do good like against the other teams and on a new patch and all that stuff. But yeah, it's possible because like we've already talked about, you can be out of form, you can be in form, you can have a good day, bad day, whatever. It's hard for me to say that it would be good in very many ways, though, outside of just like, whoa, that's crazy.
Oh, man. I would be sitting here on Monday and I would, like, a week from today, and I'd be like, bro, I don't know. I don't really like that. I don't know.
I think it'd make me less excited for Worlds, like as an NA fan. But it would be a story.
There is no doubt about that. We'll have to see. I mean, again, I don't think either of those teams make it, but yeah. I also was like really struggling with not putting EG at a 3-0 over C9. I ended up doing a 3-1. I'm glad I did, because now I don't look like a total idiot. But,
you can still save, yeah.
It's like, oh, man, I just, and maybe both of those teams are boomed, I mean, those were taxing series in different ways for both EG and TL. I think if either of those two teams are going to be able to recover from it, it would be TL, but I don't know. It's going to be fun. That is the thing that we do know, is it's going to be fun. And if the LCS isn't your style, go watch the LEC, because we also have Fnatic versus is it Rogue? No, Rogue made it. Fnatic
and
Misfits going for that last spot. Will Misfits be able to make it in their last split ever or not?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's all leading up to crazy Worlds and a crazy offseason.
The offseason is going to be so unbelievably
There's going to be stuff
spicy.
to talk about, for sure.
I can already tell you things that I'm hearing it's going to get crazy, fam. So just be prepared for that. All right. Any final thoughts for the people?
No, I mean, I'm pretty good. I think we covered a lot of stuff. I've said most of what I wanted to say, and I mean, I wish it was Thursday.
Oh, I couldn't get here any faster. This is the best time of year for an LCS fan, so make sure you go out there, support the LCS. Go frickin' watch it, guys. There are good games going on. It's the best year of League of the West has seen in years, at least in terms of playoffs. So, yeah. With that, I'm Robert Haynes. He's Jerem. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace.